Welcome back, y'all. It's the Raw Prospect Podcast, episode 22. Today, we're talking college basketball, doing some NFL, talking some NFL free agency, and then NBA at the end.
I think we might do some baseball.
Baseball? All right, yeah.
But we can do some NBA if we get there.
All right, yeah. And also, be sure to send in those voicemails, 214-986-0891. Leave those voicemails. I'm gonna type it into the chat right now. Make sure to leave your questions. Leave your sports questions so we can answer them live on the podcast.
All right. So I guess I can. I'm Michael Ween. He's Emmy Nixon. This is episode 22.
Yep. Yeah.
So we made it a long way. Hopefully y'all will join in and listen. Don't think we have any yet. But we'll start with the college basketball predictions. I got 6 games we're gonna run through here. That have important implications for tournament, both conference and NCAA. Tomorrow and Sunday are the last 2 days of the regular season. Conference tournaments start on Tuesday and run until Saturday, and then next Sunday is Selection Sunday.
Yep.
And then the tournament starts that Thursday.
Yep.
So we'll start with
busy few weeks.
We'll start with our with these games. So I have my first game is Louisville at Virginia.
Yeah, that's my first also.
Do you want to?
I'll get right into it. Virginia clinches the number 1 seed in the ACC if they win.
Yep.
And in their first matchup at Louisville, Virginia won 64-52, and they were down by 10 at halftime. And Louisville shot 62% from 3 that game, and Virginia only shot 2 for 17. So I think that just basically proves Virginia's the better team. You know, it's the flow of the game will work better for them. And I'm going to pick Virginia. Mm-hmm. Another thing that happened in that first game, DeAndre Hunter just went off. He had
26 points.
Yeah, 26 points on 9 of 11 shooting and 9 for 9 from the line.
Yep.
So, he's a matchup nightmare for Louisville, and I just think his scoring will be the difference in the game.
Yeah, you talked about it. In the bigger picture, DeAndre Hunter is going to be an X factor for Virginia in the tournament and a difference maker when it comes to tournament time, because if you guys don't remember, he broke his hand in the ACC tournament and wasn't in the game against UMBC, in which they were upset, the first ever number 1 seed to be upset by a 16 seed. I'm not saying they would have won that game with him because they did get crushed by 20, but it would have made a difference and they wouldn't have gotten demolished like they did. So he'll definitely be an X factor down the stretch. I agree with you. I think Virginia is going to win this game pretty comfortably. I have them winning 72-57. I made score predictions.
Yeah, I did too.
Virginia, it's pretty simple. They rank first in points allowed per game, 54.1 points per game allowed, and third in opponent field goal percentage at 37.7%. They also rank second in both KenPom adjusted offensive efficiency and adjusted defensive efficiency. And the amazing stat for Virginia is they are currently shooting 10% better than their opponents in both field goal percentage, 3-point field goal percentage, and free throw percentage. So every game, they shoot 10% better in each of those categories on average. They're the only team in college basketball to accomplish this feat in the past decade.
Wow.
So they're very efficient. They're very sound defensively. They're really good at home. Their only 2 losses are to Duke with Zion. Duke's playing without Zion, of course, right now. But and they're coming off a performance on, I think it was Monday, where they hit 18 threes at Syracuse. Mm-hmm. I don't think that will happen again, but if it does,
look out. Yeah, this could get ugly. My score prediction was Virginia 69-62. But just in general, the thing that I think is different about Virginia this year is the fact that they can win multiple ways. Last year and years past in general, I just think they've had go-to guys before, but I think this is the first time they've had a wing player like RJ Hunter. Normally their go-to would be like a guard, Kyle Guy, Malcolm Brogdon, guys like that.
But now they have an elite wing player.
Elite wing player projected to be a top 10 pick in most draft boards. So, I mean.
And the overlooked thing about DeAndre Hunter is his size and his ability to defend four positions.
Exactly.
On the basketball court. He can guard point guard, shooting guard, small forward, of course, because that's what he plays, and then power forward in Virginia's defense. And sometimes if they go really small ball, he can even guard the center position. So his defensive versatility is something that's very underrated to go along with his scoring. But not only his scoring, when he scores, he's efficient.
He's very efficient.
Very efficient.
And he doesn't need the ball in his hands the whole game, too.
So with that, we can move on. I'm not sure if you have this game. I have Texas Tech at Iowa State.
We can do that. We can do that game next. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I'll go first with this one. I have the Texas Tech with the win. They can clinch a share of the Big 12 title. Of course, if K-State loses, I think they win it outright. But if both of them win, they share it. Iowa State looked good early in Big 12 play and kind of towards the mid-season part, but have kind of fallen off, and they are no longer in contention for the Big 12 regular season title. I had Texas Tech winning this game in a close game on the road, 74-72. I think Jarrett Culver's the difference. And when you look at this game, the key, I think, is going to be three-point shooting. Iowa State usually shoots really good in their building, but if you look at it, Texas Tech is shooting 36% from three-point range in Big 12 conference play. That's second in the Big 12, 67th in the nation. But when you think about it, there's 315 total teams in the nation.
That's still very solid.
67th is still top tier. Iowa State is not much worse. They're 36.1% this year. I think this is going to come down to who makes more shots from three-point range and who can run the opposing players off the three-point line and force them to take tough either two-point contested shots or tough contested shots down the paint. Texas Tech plays great defense. I think if they have to make a stop at the end of the game, they can. They only allow 58.2 points per game defensively. That's second in the nation. And they're first in KenPom adjusted defensive efficiency rating at 85.3. So I think they have the difference maker player in Jarrett Culver who can make a shot late game, and they have the edge defensively to make a stop if needed.
So the Texas Tech, they've won 9 in a row coming into this game. So they've won 11 of the last 12, and Iowa State has lost 3 in a row. And they're at home, of course, but I just think Texas Tech is just red hot. You can't overlook that, and they're peaking at the right time. And I think they have a lot at stake because if they win this game and Kansas State loses, then they get their first regular season title in their history. So I think they'll come out with a different edge this game, and that they'll win it. But I agree. I think it's going to be close.
Okay, so what's your next game?
My next game is Tennessee at Auburn.
Okay, you can go ahead with that one.
All right. With a win and an LSU loss, Tennessee will clinch the SEC regular season title. But they have to do it on the road against Auburn. And Auburn, although they're 21-9, they lost by only 5 against Duke, I think. They lost by 2 against Kentucky. I mean, of course, the other time they got blown out. But they're a team that's extremely explosive, and they're 14-2 at home this year. So that's key. And they're also 35th in the country in 3-point shooting percentage at 37.5%.
Pretty good.
And so if they get hot, then Tennessee will struggle to keep up because we know that Tennessee, their weakness is 3-point shooting. And obviously they play really stout defense, but when a team's at home, they can feed off the crowd and they start making their shots. It could get ugly. But I'm going to pick Auburn in the upset 84-82. Just because I think Tennessee is coming in not playing as well as it may seem. They in their last win against Mississippi State, they had 15 turnovers and they only shot 6 for 23 from 3-point range at home. So I'm picking Auburn.
Okay. Definitely I could see that happening, but I'm going to pick Tennessee 83-74. I just think I haven't watched a lot of Tennessee lately, although I did watch them crush Kentucky at home.
Mm-hmm.
That was a payback game for what happened in Lexington. But for me, this comes down to Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield.
Yeah.
Talk about it. Admiral Schofield's averaging double-digit rebounds, and Grant Williams has the ability to score from the high post and low post, and both shoot respectable percentages from three.
Yeah.
I think if this game's close late, which I definitely could see that happening since it's in Auburn and it's senior day and it's going to be an emotional environment and all that stuff, I could definitely see it being close late. But I think down the stretch, and I've seen this 3 or 4 times this year when I've watched Tennessee, in stretches on the road, Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield, both of them have come up big in different ways. There was one game, I forgot who it was against, where Grant Williams put up 43 points and went 21 of 21 from the line on the road, and they won that game in overtime. Admiral Schofield has hit big shots all year. You're right, they did not play their best basketball against Mississippi State, but I think Rick Barnes will have him refocus. I think Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield both have good games, and they'll pull away at the end.
Yeah, I could see that happening as well.
And there's a lot at stake for Tennessee. I mean, it's getting to the point where, okay, they're on the board, kind of on the board between 2 and 1 seed, and I think if Duke loses tomorrow to Carolina, I think I'd probably drop them down to 2, move Carolina up to 1, and along with Gonzaga and Virginia, and then that 4th number 1 spot, that's up to Tennessee, Kentucky. There are a bunch of teams in there.
Yeah.
That could grab that 4th spot. So they're kind of fighting for that 4th number 1 seed, or they could be dumped to the 2 line, even maybe the 3 line if they lose to Auburn, because Auburn, they're a good team, but they're not where they were at the beginning of the season,
right?
Where they were ranked, I believe, top 15 in the country. So,
yep.
So, you want to lead us into our next one?
Yeah. My next game is Florida at Kentucky.
Okay.
So with a win, Kentucky will stay in the hunt for a 1 seed, as you just mentioned. And Florida, they're on the bubble right now in terms of making the tournament. And if they can get a win in Lexington, that can push them into the tournament. So a lot is on the line. In their first matchup, Kentucky pulled away late and they won 65-54. And I think Kentucky will win 70-66. I think it's going to be a really close game because Florida, they need this game really, really badly. I'll look for Tyler Hero and Ashton Higgins to have big games. So I'm picking Kentucky.
Yeah, you mentioned Tyler Hero. That guy can shoot, and he's turned into, the last half of the season, he's turned into a all SEC team candidate for sure. He's been big for them. But the guy I look at and is going to be the difference maker in this game, and has been in most games for Kentucky's PJ Washington, obviously. You look at his numbers: 15 points, 8 rebounds per game, to go along with 3 assists. Sophomore from Dallas, Texas, 6'8", 230, has the size. He has the finishing skills around the rim. Not a great shooter, but when he wants to go to work down low and dominate the game in the paint, he can. And I think once he does that, it will open up kickouts to other great shooters on Kentucky, like Tyler Hero. Florida, they played Kentucky in the first half of that last matchup. They played them pretty competitively.
Really well. Yeah.
But that was when Kentucky was just starting to get on this roll they've been on in the past couple of weeks. I think it's at Rupp. It's senior day. Coach Cal's going to have them ready. They're not in contention for the regular season title, but I think, Kentucky, they're going to be – this is where they start to make the run. They got to get this win and get some momentum going into the SEC tournament. And they'll probably be in contention in the SEC tournament. And then once tournament time comes, you never know, with a Hall of Fame coach like John Calipari, who will have his guys ready to play. So,
yeah,
that's all I got to say.
Yeah, I think that's really it for that game.
I'll lead us into our next one. I don't know if you have this one, but Oklahoma at K-State.
Yep.
Here's what I'll say about this game. K-State, I have them winning this 68-57. It comes down to K-State's defense and 2 players, Dean Wade and Barry Brown Jr. K-State allows 59.3 points per game. That's 4th in the nation, and their adjusted defensive efficiency ratings, 88.4. That's 6th in the nation. So they're very solid defensively. The question is going to be for K-State in the tournament, the injuries to their star players. Can they stay healthy? And who gets the ball late down the stretch? Is it Dean Wade? Is it Barry Brown? Or I forget the other guy's name. But they have another dude that's part of that big 3. Can they score enough down the stretch? Oklahoma is not bad themselves defensively. This is not football Oklahoma, where they're horrendous defensively. This team, they limit opponents to 47% shooting, and their defensive efficiency rating is 95.3, which is top 20th in the nation. So they're not a slouch themselves defensively. I think this is going to be pretty low scoring, but I think K-State, since it's at home on senior day for 4, I think they have 4 seniors.
Yeah.
So this class, I don't know about next year, but I don't know much about their recruiting class, but this is their one last chance to get a Big 12 title under their belt for this group. And I think they're going to be motivated to do it. So I have them pulling away late in this game.
Yeah, I basically the same things. I've been winning 72-62. Oklahoma hasn't won at Kansas State since 2012.
Wow.
Yeah. So that speaks to just how tough it is to play there. And also sometimes it's just execution as well on Oklahoma's side. Obviously that's not relevant for this year, but Oklahoma's coming off the win versus Kansas, and that will likely push them into the tournament with the big win like that. But I just think coming off an emotional game like that, it's so easy to come out flat in the next one. That's why I'm picking Kansas State.
Yeah, and if you look at it, you talked about the execution on the road. This Oklahoma team has some very solid players, but they don't have that difference maker that they've had in past years. We've seen Trae Young make big shots.
Blake Griffin
down the stretch. Blake Griffin and Buddy Hield.
Yeah,
all of those guys made big shots when Oklahoma needed it in tough road games, and they have a solid roster, but they don't have that difference maker.
Right.
K-State does, and Barry Brown Jr. and Dean Wade. So
Yeah, that's the difference in the game, really.
I have TCU at Texas.
TCU Texas, yeah, I got that one too.
So we have this game, and then we have the two blockbuster matchups after this.
Yeah.
And Duke, Carolina, and Michigan State. So with TCU Texas, I'll be quick with this. I might be a little biased. I'm picking Texas. I hope they win, and I think they will win because it's senior day. Sadly enough, Kerwin Roach is not playing. He's still suspended, but he's going to play in the Big 12 tournament.
Okay.
But he's not going to get to play on his senior day, which is kind of
that's going to be awkward. He's going to be sitting on the bench watching his tribute video, and then he's not going to be able to play.
Yeah. But I think UT will get the dub. It's in Austin. Senior day for Osakowski too. Dylan Osakowski. I think they'll win 70-62. They did have a win. I'm not sure if it was last game or the game before that against Iowa State. A good win versus Iowa State. They crushed them. TCU, if you look at it, I think both teams are pretty desperate for a victory.
Right.
TCU has lost 3 straight and 6 of their last 7. Texas, on the other hand, is 16-14, but I think they have an edge up on TCU because they have a number of quality quadrant run victories on their resume in Purdue, Kansas, and UNC, all very good wins. But I think a loss for Texas, if you look at it, it drops them to 16-15, and that would put a lot more pressure on them to win more games in the Big 12 tournament. I think if they end up losing this game at home to TCU, who's already struggling themselves, that could put them in a really tight situation come Selection Sunday. If they don't end up winning at least 2 games, I'd say, in the Big 12 tournament. This is critical. Shaka Smart has to have him ready to play. I think this could be, I don't know if they're already maybe going to fire him after this season, no matter what happens, but this could put a nail in the coffin for Shaka Smart if they end up losing this game. And
yeah, for sure.
I think
this could be the Charlie Strong Kansas game.
Yeah.
You know, if they lose this, it's over. But for this game, I'm picking Texas also.
Okay.
But for a different reason. I just think they need to feed Dylan Ostenkowski in the post. They need to have his low post presence. You have to get him going early. And also, they can't settle for the 3-point shot. They gotta attack the paint. We saw this game last year. We went to this game last year.
I was about to say.
TCU, their team, they have a lot of depth. I think that's the best part of their team. But I just think Texas, they need, like you said, they just need this game.
Badly.
Yeah. And that's why I'm going to pick them in a low scoring game, 60-58.
Okay. All right. So in case y'all don't know, tomorrow night, starting at 6, it's what they call a Sonic Blockbuster. We have number 4 Duke, probably without Zion again. I think they're saving him for the ACC tournament.
Smart.
In tournament time, which is smart. You have number 4 Duke at number 3 North Carolina. And after that, we have Michigan at Michigan State. So 4 hours to be glued to your TV. So we'll start with the Battle of the Blue Bloods, Duke and Carolina. What do you say? The rematch.
Duke.
And we could see, depending on what happens in the ACC tournament, we could see this again in about a week.
Yeah. Duke is going to want revenge, obviously. But they rely so much on RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish, Trey Jones for offense. That I think if they're going to win this game, they have to get somebody else going. They have to get Marquez Bolden going. They have to get somebody on their bench going. They need some other scoring.
Javin DeLaurier or Jack White, someone like that.
Any of those guys. They need something. North Carolina's point guard, what's his name? Kobe White. Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
That's going to be a key matchup. Kobe White and Trey Jones. Keep an eye on that. In the first game, that played a key factor. But I think I'm going to change my pick. I think I'm going to go with North Carolina.
Okay.
Originally, I picked Duke, but now that I think about it, it's in North Carolina.
At Chapel Hill.
Yeah,
Yep.
at Chapel Hill. And I just think
Senior day for Luke May.
If North Carolina controls the tempo, plays to their pace, and controls the boards like they did in the first game, then it could be the same story. Yeah.
We go to Vandergrift High School. Greg Brown from Vandergrift High School is going to be at this game. He's taking a recruiting visit as he has an offer from UNC. He's going to be at Chapel Hill. Supposedly, there was an article published online. He's going to be at this game. Just a side note for y'all. I'm taking Carolina also, although I didn't think I would say this at the start of the season, but for Virginia's sake, I kind of want Duke to win because if Duke wins and Carolina or Virginia wins, Virginia actually would win the regular season title outright. But if Carolina and Virginia win, they share it.
Right.
Just for the outright title, that would be nice. But I'm picking Carolina to win 88-81. Carolina is averaging 86.8 points per game offensively, third in the nation, and they make close to 9 3-pointers per game.
Wow.
8.9. So basically 9 3-pointers per game. That's unheard of for a Roy Williams coached North Carolina team. They usually don't shoot the three ball as well as they have been. They have 3 seniors. Luke May, who really dominated that first matchup. He had like 30 points and 15 rebounds, something close to there. Of course, Zion, they missed his playmaking inside.
Right.
Both defensively and offensively. And I think they're going to be missing that again. Duke is not a slouch himself offensively by no means. 84.6 points per game this year, which is 6th in the nation. But in the past 3 games, that number's dropped all the way down to 76.7. So you see the impact Zion Williamson has on Duke.
Yeah.
And, they don't shoot the 3-point ball as well as Carolina percentage-wise, but they still do make 7 per game, around 7 per game.
Right.
But they shoot a ton of them, and they don't make a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I think the home crowd, senior day, and the non-presence, I should say, of Zion Williamson and the reliance on RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish, it's going to do them in. And I think Carolina will get the sweep of Duke and share the ACC title with Virginia going into the ACC tournament next week. And I think, bold prediction here, I think Carolina will get the number 1 seed and Duke will be dropped to the number 1 overall 2 seed.
Just a side note, I think if RJ Barrett has a great game, I think he can solidify himself as the number 2 pick over Ja Morant. That just a side note on a big stage like that, one that Ja Morant won't be able to have at Murray State. I just think the scouts will be watching. Watching. He's gonna have to carry the team. He's gonna have to carry the load. So it'll be interesting to see.
Okay. Our final game of this segment is going to be Michigan at Michigan State.
You can go first.
I'll make it quick. Michigan State. I'm picking Michigan State 70-66 over Michigan. Michigan State averages 79.9 points per game, so basically 80 points per game, 24th in the nation. They score 84.9 points per game at home and only 74.9 points per game on the road. This game they're at home, so they're much better offensively at home than on the road. That's going to make a difference. And they average 19.3 assists per game as a team. That's 3rd in the country. In order to break a very stingy Michigan defense, you got to move the ball around, and that's what Michigan State does best, even without two of their best players, Nick Ward and Joshua Langford. We saw it. They played very sound. They got on the boards, out-rebounded Michigan in that first game, and didn't turn the ball over a whole lot, and they moved the ball exceptionally well. And I think they're going to do that even better in this game. Michigan averages 70.7 points per game. That's 217th in the nation, so not as great. But they're up to 73.7 in the past 3 games. They only allow 58.3 points per game, which is 3rd in the nation. But given that Michigan State is much better at home offensively and that they're going to move the ball, and I think they'll break down the Michigan defense, I'm picking Michigan State.
Yeah. Again, same pick. I'm picking Michigan State also. I'm picking them because Michigan is limited offensively. They simply have to make shots. That's all it is. I feel like they get open looks. They just don't knock them down enough.
As much as they should.
And I just think against a team like Michigan State, whose style is to where you have to score 75 plus to hang with them, Yep. So I just think Michigan just doesn't match up well in terms of style of play. And that's why I'm picking Michigan State. I'm going to pick Michigan State to win 78-68.
Got it. That's going to do it for our college basketball predictions for the last Saturday of the regular season. Next week is conference tournaments, and the next week is the actual big dance. And we should, I don't know if you want to, but we should do an episode
where we make our bracket. Yeah, that'd be entertaining. Yeah, we should do that.
We should definitely do that. So we'll have that coming out for y'all in a week or two when the brackets come out. Anyway, we'll go ahead and move on to our next segment. You can lead us into our next segment, whatever that may be.
Top 20 NFL free agents and best landing spots. The big names: Landon Collins, Nick Foles, Le'Veon Bell, and Earl Thomas.
The safety market's loaded.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Landon Collins, Earl Thomas, I think Kenny Vaccaro. There's some other names. Clinton Dix.
Yeah.
A bunch of names.
Yeah, a bunch.
Safeties go. Teddy Bridgewater is another overlooked one.
Yeah. And it's reported that Nick Foles will go to the Jaguars next week. It's not official yet, but I think
they're going to release Blake Bortles.
Yeah. I'm interested. Like, who do you think out of the top free agents, who will make the biggest impact on a team?
Biggest impact on a team.
Because I'm leaning Le'Veon Bell as well, but Nick Foles could be big for the Jaguars also. Sure. If that defense can bounce back and play like they did in the year prior where they made the AFC Championship game. If they can play like that, they have all those players coming back. They're all under contract. And they can add another great player at the number 7 pick. Who knows if someone drops and they can pick up one of those pass rushers, that defense can be even better. Yeah,
Nick Foles, I think for a lot of the quarterbacks, it depends on the system. But I think you can put Le'Veon into any system and he'll make a difference either way. He's a workhorse running back. I know from the time with the Steelers. He sat out the whole entirety of last year. Now that's the only question is, will he be the same after a whole year off?
Yeah.
Can he be the same? But he's fresh, on a set of fresh legs. He's 27 years old. Now 1,541 touches to this point is a lot. That's about 1,500 divided by 5 seasons. That's about 300 touches per season.
Wow.
So he has had a lot, but he has had a year off. He seems to be, if you follow him on any sort of social media, he seems to be in good shape.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of teams, I think the Jets, in the market for a running back, they've been looking at him and they're kind of worried about his weight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too worried about that. The way that he works, he's one of the hardest workers apparently on Pittsburgh and his time in Pittsburgh. This man, you guys have probably heard this a million times. If you follow the NFL, he can run, he can catch, and he can block.
Yeah.
Um,
He can do all three. And that's why he wanted to be paid, because for what Pittsburgh was asking him to do, sometimes they would put him in the slot. And his versatility, I feel like he feels that it's more than what a running back brings.
Yeah, and before Juju Smith-Schuster broke onto the scene and really had his breakout, which is last year, Le'Veon Bell was second behind AB in receptions, and that he wants to be paid like a number 2 receiver. He wants to be paid, 14, 15 million per year annually. But the main thing with Le'Veon is the guaranteed money. He wants to get the Todd Gurley type money, $45 million guaranteed. 60 million over 4 years, 45 million guaranteed was the deal Todd Gurley got. Le'Veon wants something like that. So he has that insurance policy in case something were to happen where he got hurt, like we saw with Earl Thomas this year.
Right.
He wants that security. So I think whichever team gives him the most security and the most guaranteed money up front and on the back end of his deal. I don't think the back end matters as much because he's going to be 30, and that's usually the point where elite running backs start to fall.
Right.
Fall out of their primes at least. They can still be productive, but fall out of their primes.
Right.
He's going to want that. Whichever team gives him that, that's the team he's going to go to. He was on Instagram Live the other day talking about going to Kansas City.
Wow. That would be scary. That.
I'm sorry, NFL, but pray that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I don't know if the only problem with that is I don't think Casey's got the money.
Right. And they need to focus on building up that defense. But that's another topic for another day. Let me just say this. I think he would benefit from going a team with a really good offensive line because with his patient running style, if you go to a team that's allowing penetration, he's been able to overcome that, but at the same time, the Steelers have always had a top 5 offensive line in the years he's been with them. So that's definitely a factor.
Yep. If you look at fits, I think the Jets could possibly be a fit, but I don't think they're as interested as people think they are.
Right.
It's got to be a team with a lot of money.
I just don't think he would fit in their timeline in terms of their rebuild. I think the Jets are 3 years away from being – it could be more than that, but based on their trajectory right now.
I think you look at a team like Indianapolis.
Yeah.
But Marlon Mack did have a good finish to last season. I don't know if they're really in the market for a running back, but if they really wanted to go win now, let's get to a Super Bowl, try to overtake New England. He's an elite player. So I'm not sure who else. Philly's been mentioned in the conversation. They've got some money, I know.
Yeah, they just traded Michael Bennett
because they're not going to have to pay him, and Nick Foles is off the books now. So they decided not to franchise tag him, obviously. So they've got some money, and he could go there. I've heard Baltimore maybe in the conversation. I don't want it to happen, but if they're in the market for a running back, I think Alex Collins, their running back, recently got in trouble for something. Maybe I was just reading that somewhere. I don't know. They might be in the mark. I mean,
And the 49ers as well.
yep.
They have money, but like I said before, they need an offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could fit well anywhere. I just think, as you said before, he can come in and change offense. I just don't know if these teams would benefit from paying a running back $14 million a year, like say the Colts, for example. I think they could benefit from sticking with Marlon Mack because he doesn't have to be paid right now, and when he will get paid, he may give you a hometown discount. If he doesn't, you can find another Marlon Mack, and they can focus on building that defense and building it up to even better than what it was last year.
Yeah.
So
we can move on from Le'Veon. We obviously heard Nick Foles is supposedly going to sign with the Jaguars. That'll make a difference, obviously, for Jacksonville, getting rid of Blake Bortles, upgrading to Nick Foles, who has Super Bowl experience, obviously.
I think that could either go really good or really bad.
Yeah.
Because playoff Nick Foles is not regular season Nick Foles. It's a completely different player. It's absurd, actually, like the difference.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the way he played in the first 3 weeks of the season when they were waiting on Wentz to return, he didn't play well.
No.
And then when he went in at the end of the season, he lit it up.
If you look at it, though, something a lot of people are overlooking, if he does make it official next week and sign with Jacksonville, he would reunite with their new offensive coordinator, John DeFilippo, who was his quarterback coach when he was in Philly.
Right.
So
he knows
there's
his
some connection
offense.
there.
That's good.
He knows the offense, which is good. It's just, can they put the requisite weapons around him?
Right. I just hope that...
And can he perform well in the regular season?
Yeah, and I just hope that DeFilippo doesn't get too pass happy as well. He needs to establish Fournette. That is the heart of that team still. Fournette is still their best offensive player.
Yeah, for sure.
If you look at their wide receiver core, yes, they have some good players. D.D. Westbrook, Marquise Lee, coming off that injury last year. But they don't have like a go-to red zone target. And until they get that, I don't think it would be smart to throw it 35 times a game, So
I think instead of going through all these names, because that would take a while,
mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you a question. So we have Landon Collins, we have Earl Thomas, we have Tyrann Mathieu,
mm-hmm.
We have, I'm just going through seeing all these safeties. We had Eric Weddle, but it's reported he's going to go to the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Another, of course,
another dude going to the Rams.
Another guy going to the Rams. LaMarcus Joyner. As I mentioned, Kenny Vaccaro. So we have all these names, right? The safety market's loaded. Clinton Dix.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you two questions. Who's the best, just from an objective perspective, who's the best safety on the market?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second question is, if you're a general manager, which safety do you want? Kind of two different things.
The best safety is Earl Thomas. Still, I feel like.
I agree.
I mean, he can still go and just be the anchor for a back end of a defense.
Mm-hmm.
Even at his age, he's 29 years old. He can still play at a high level. But if I'm looking for a safety, I'm gonna want to say Landon Collins because he's younger. He did have a down year this year,
mm-hmm.
but he had a great year the year before.
Year before? Or
year before the year before. So 2 years, 2 years before. He had a great year. So the potential is there. the question is consistency with Landon Collins. So that can be addressed with coaching. And I think over time, if you can get this guy and develop him in the right system, I think he can make a big impact.
My questions with Earl Thomas come down to health.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a matter of his effectiveness on the field. He had 3 interceptions last year. Still effective, still completely viable in his position. He's an anchor on the back end. He can play sideline to sideline, come up and make tackles. Very versatile safety. It's just his injury history isn't great. He hasn't made it through a full season, 16 games since 2015.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to find a way to stay healthy. He probably is still the best safety on the market. But if I'm a GM and I'm looking for one for my team, I might have to pick Tyrann Mathieu.
Mm-hmm.
Just because he's been healthy for pretty much his whole entire NFL career. He's still pretty young. He's still only 27.
Mm-hmm.
So around a little bit older than Landon Collins, but not too old.
And it's experience
still
as well.
In his prime. He has experience. Rumors says he wants to remain in Houston, but it's yet to be seen if Houston's going to give him what he wants. So we'll have to see what happens with that.
Yeah.
But he had 2 interceptions last year with Houston, made a big difference. And he started 16 games in each of the past 3 seasons. So he's been very healthy, and he's also very versatile. You can't go wrong with either one of these guys, but just matter of opinion.
Right. I think it depends on the team.
Yeah.
For my team, say the Cowboys, we're in a situation where our coach is on the last year of his deal, and it's win now, you know?
Yep.
So you want to look at a guy like Earl Thomas, but at the same time, you don't want to go out and overpay for a guy.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's all about fit.
Mm-hmm.
So
last question, this free agent topic for you. You're a Cowboys fan. I know they have some stuff to deal with as far as the defensive line goes.
Right.
Paying DeMarcus Lawrence and some of the other guys on that
priority number 1. Yeah.
And also maybe giving Dak an extension.
Mm.
I don't know where that sits on their priority list, but if you had the money to go out and get anyone on the free agent market, who would you go get? Excluding Le'Veon Bell, because obviously you don't.
Mm-hmm. We don't need Le'Veon Bell.
Excluding the positions you don't need.
I would want Earl Thomas.
Okay.
So I think at the very least, he's a locker room guy. If he say he goes out there and he's just not the same, but he gives you experience and a leader. You know, I think our defense is so young. I think we need a veteran back there. And right now, it's Jaylon Smith's defense. That's great, but I think with Sean Lee letting him go this year, I think we need a new leader back there and just be the anchor. Like I said before, he can just go out there and do his thing.
Yeah, I'll answer the same question for my team. I'm Pittsburgh. We've tried to put some guys in position to replace Shazier.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm going to go out and give C.J. Mosley or Quan Alexander, the guy from Tampa Bay. Either one would be fine with me.
Quan Alexander would be great.
Would be good to fill the void from Shazier. C.J. Mosley, obviously, probably the more known one.
But Quan Alexander is still a very good player.
C.J. Mosley, 27 years old, 4-time Pro Bowler, only missed 3 games in 5 seasons, so he stayed relatively healthy. Big part of the Ravens defense. He's kind of that glue guy in the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm.
And then Quan Alexander is probably the better all-around player.
I see the Ravens playing.
Last year, a torn ACL in week 6 put his extension talks with Tampa Bay on hold. I don't know if he's going to resign with Tampa Bay. He's a little younger than C.J. Mosley at 25. It's just how he recovers from the ACL surgery. But he did play in a 4-3, and Pittsburgh does play a 3-4. I don't know how that would fit, but we'll just have to see. But Pittsburgh needs, whether it's through the draft, if they trade up in that Antonio Brown trade to the top 10 pick in the draft, they need to get an elite linebacker.
Right.
Bunch of elite defensive talent in this draft, like we talked about last week.
Mm-hmm.
I
think Quan Alexander will be a great fit. If you don't know who Quan Alexander is, he's been holding it down in Tampa Bay for years in that bad defense. He's been their best player defensively by far the last 3 or 4 years. He just doesn't get much attention, obviously, because he's in Tampa Bay. But I think he could benefit from from some new scenery.
scenery. Exactly.
If he can just get a new start, new team, like get his name out there, he can become a star, even a Pro Bowler. So I think if I'm Quan Alexander, I would definitely go to the Steelers.
Yeah, I would too. We already have our edge rushers are fine. Dupree and T.J. Watt.
Mm-hmm.
We have guys on the interior, Hargraves and Hayward.
Mm-hmm.
And Tuitt, who's had injury problems, but he's still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It's just filling the Shazier void and getting another corner next to Joe Hayden.
Right.
Those would be my two priorities if I were Pittsburgh. And then obviously maybe getting another receiver because Brown's going to be gone sometime in the next 12 hours,
right?
Supposedly.
Right. And hopefully you'll get a pick or two out of that. Depending on which team it is, maybe a second or a third. That's still 2 valuable picks.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Obviously, there was a little scare last night.
Yep.
We thought he was going to the Bills, and then he posted on his Twitter fake news.
Yeah. And he was right.
Then everybody
Twitter went in on him.
Though. Oh man,
Twitter had all the jokes.
Oh man,
I was laughing so hard. But anyway, with that, do you have anything else you want to mention as far as NFL free agency goes? It does start on next Wednesday, March 13th.
Where do you think the best landing spot for Teddy Bridgewater would be? You think he's just a backup now?
I think he is, sadly.
Yeah.
He showed promise in the preseason with the Jets. Completed 74% of his passes for 315 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was encouraging, but it's just
there's no more quarterback desperate teams anymore. Everybody's found theirs. The Browns have Mayfield. Jets have Darnold.
I may have said Washington, but they just traded for Case Keenum.
Yeah.
I can't really think of any other, unless maybe Miami wanted to make some quarterback change. I don't know.
Maybe Miami.
I don't know if Tannehill's.
Yeah, they're done with Tannehill.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If they're going to draft a quarterback, obviously there's Haskins and Murray.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that looks like. I'm trying to think just off the top of my head. Is Jameis Winston on his last straw in Tampa Bay?
Bruce Arians has come out and said that he's their guy.
Okay.
But that could change, you know. I think at the end of the year he showed enough to say maybe we can win with this guy. I mean, he hasn't played terrible in his time with Tampa Bay. He's just turned it over.
Yeah, it's just for Bridgewater. It's not his fault, but he just hasn't held up. His body hasn't held up.
He was the franchise quarterback.
But he is young enough where he could still recover. He seems old because he's been out for so long, but he's still only 26. So he still has I guess a couple more years.
I just
to
thought of
get it
something.
rectified.
I think low key, if he goes to Minnesota, if he goes back to Minnesota and he gets that backup role, then if Kirk Cousins slips up, they could throw him in there.
Maybe.
Minnesota, they're getting impatient with Kirk Cousins. I think
just thought
that's
of it
pretty
too.
clear.
What about Cincinnati? I mean, are they totally in on Andy Dalton, who's had some injury problems a couple of years?
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't really done anything. Obviously, they got rid of Marvin Lewis. That might have been the real problem.
Right.
But, I mean, if he doesn't have a great year this year, could they? I mean,
yeah, they could try something new.
They could, at least get him and have him in case Dalton doesn't work out long term. And
right.
that may be an option.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to have to pay this guy big money. I mean, he hasn't played in
Yeah, and
a
he
long
clearly
time.
has the talent to be an NFL quarterback. So
for sure, it's just whether his body.
I think he could benefit from a season in the AAF to go show what he can do.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. Honestly.
I think if he did that, then it could resurrect his career. You know, he just needs reps.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we'll move on from that. You wanted to talk some baseball?
If you want to. I mean, I got stuff on baseball, but I think we can save mock draft for a couple podcasts from now.
Yeah.
Since the draft isn't till late April and we're only in early March.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll do baseball.
Yeah.
We were gonna do our American League, but if you just want to talk about what you know and
yeah, let's just talk baseball. I don't have anything prepared.
Yeah.
So
all right. If you want to, I'm done using my computer. I got my magazines right here. If you want to, you can use this and look.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Or you can use your phone. It really doesn't matter. But I'm just gonna start right off. We talked a little bit about Bryce Harper and Manny Machado last podcast. So I guess we'll start by picking up where we left off, talk about that a little bit, and then talk about some of the American League favorites. So in case you guys don't know, we talked about Harper going to the Phillies. Young upstart team on the rise, $330 million over 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
Still, I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
And then obviously Machado, 10 years, $300 million with the Padres. Obviously with Harper, the situation was he wanted one city for the rest of his career. So he got that 13 years. It will take him till his age 39 season in Philly with a very, on the rise, young, talented Philadelphia Phillies team that it plays in a very competitive division, but still.
If they can have a good year and then, like Bryce Harper already said, he's going to recruit Mike Trout.
Yeah.
Then
that's another thing. They're going to recruit Mike Trout, and that, I'm sure, will set another record for.
He is going to get that bag wherever he goes.
Big. I'm hearing could be the first ever $400 million contract in sports history.
Wow.
Could be. I don't think it.
Could it be a 15-year,
honestly,
400? Oh, man. Oh.
I wouldn't. I mean, he is like generational talent, but I don't know if I would commit that to that unless I know I'm gonna get a World Series title or two out of it.
Right. The biggest thing in the NL is pitching depth.
Yeah.
Just baseball in general, actually. What am I talking about? But it seems like in the NL, especially, those teams are pitching oriented, and then AL, they're just offense. The Red Sox, the Yankees, the Astros, they just light it up.
So I think I think Harper got a good deal out of his situation. He got what he wanted, the long-term years and the money, which he deserves. Obviously, you mentioned in the last podcast he is more boomer bust
Mm-hmm.
than Machado,
Yeah,
but he
but
definitely
he's good defensively.
But we mentioned in the last podcast he puts butts in seats.
Yeah,
Machado does too, but not
as much.
not as
Bryce
much.
Harper is a brand. He
Yeah.
Gatorade commercials and just even at the home run derby, he comes out with his American flag bandana.
Yeah.
He's a character.
He is a character. I think his personality, and it's not like the character in a bad way. It's a good persona, if you will, a good personality. He's good in the locker room. He's not going to cause any problems. He got his money. He's happy where he is. He's at a good point in his career. He's in the middle of his prime. Some people say he's only going to get better, actually, from here. He's not going to cause any problems. Now, Machado, there have been some behavioral issues, both on and off the field with Machado. Some questions with him, more so than Harper. How will that affect him in San Diego? But I think with San Diego, they're a very young team. And I think they brought in Machado not only to get their rebuild off the ground, but to also, hey, look what this guy's done in his first 6 years in the majors. He's only 26. We need him to set an example for our younger guys. And that's going to be one of his jobs in San Diego. He seems to be happy with his destination. Also, he seems to be happy. San Diego's a great city. I've been there. Obviously, the Chargers have left.
Yeah,
they don't have a basketball team.
They
so
need
baseball's
something.
kind of their thing now.
Yeah.
They need their team to
get better. They haven't had a good team in San Diego in a while.
Their last playoff appearance was 2006. And it's 2019, so 13 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so Machado's job's going to be setting an example for the younger guys, coming in batting 290 like he did last year, hitting 30-plus homers, driving in runs like he did last year on the Dodgers and the Orioles. He's been a busy man, but I think with all that being said about those two guys, we'll go ahead and get into some of the American League favorites. The main thing I want to talk about is Yankees and Red Sox and Astros. Those are the three heavyweights.
Yeah, obviously.
So if you want to just mention what's on your mind or what you have there, and then the first question I'll pose to you is, who do you think will win the AL East? Will it be the Red Sox or the Yankees?
I think it's the Yankees, but because I think the Red Sox may start slow because they had that World Series hangover.
Yeah.
But it's not because they're a worse team.
No, by no means. They have a great roster.
Yeah. I just think with the way the Yankee season ended last year, I think they're just going to come out on fire. Especially since they added pitching depth finally.
Something they're in need of.
Yeah.
If you look at New York, they added Paxton from Seattle. He's a good pitcher, and he's had a good career against Boston so far. They re-signed Jay Happ, who was also very good against Boston, went 7-0 once he got to New York in that midseason trade. They upgraded their starting pitching, bringing in Paxton. They might add another guy here, depending on how spring training goes.
Yeah.
Severino's hurt. He's their ace. I don't know if he'll be ready for opening day. So they might go out and get another guy like a Dallas Keuchel or someone. Not sure on that yet, but they have Sabathia, the veteran, who will be playing in his last season. He's going to retire after this year. Tanaka, Paxton, Severino, and then obviously Happ. Those are their starting pitchers. and their bullpen, man, is it scary.
Yeah.
That's kind of been their strength of their pitching for the past couple of years. And then obviously we don't have to talk about their hitting.
Yeah, I made a mistake earlier. I didn't mean to say pitching depth. I
Yeah.
meant starting pitching.
Yeah. You know, Judge, he missed 50 games last year, still hit 27 homers. Remember 2 years ago when he hit 52 bombs in his rookie season, and then they got Stanton in that trade from the Marlins, coming off a season where he hit 59 home runs. So they got those two guys, and then they have Gleyber Torres, the young gun, who came on late last year, and Duhar, who needs to get better defensively, but he can rake. Big storyline, Gary Sanchez, their catcher, coming off a slump where he only batted 186, which is not good at all.
That's terrible.
After a season where he batted over, 260 and had 27 homers, he only hit like 18 last year. He was hurt for some points of the last season, but he'll need to get back on track. He could be an X factor for this Yankees team. But as far as the Red Sox go, they're not going to have Craig Kimbrel. He was their closer. But they do have Mookie Betts, who's like the second best player in baseball. They did get JD Martinez. He was big for them last year. Hit 40-something homers, batted 290, 300. He actually batted 304 and had 40-plus homers. That's insane. They have the other guys there. What's his name? Jackie Bradley Jr., another guy. And their starting pitching staff is solid. I don't know if it's as good as New York, but they have Chris Sale. He's been an ace for a long time now, and they have David Price, who has playoff questions, but he's good in the regular season.
Yeah.
So I think the Yankees will win the division, but it's crazy. We're going to have probably a 95-plus win team playing in that one-game wild card elimination game.
Yeah.
Which is just absolutely insane.
Yeah. It's almost stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, if you win, this is why, like, in sports, having a lot of weight on division, on the divisions, is really bad. Like, say in the NBA, before they changed the rule in 2006, I believe, the Mavericks played the Spurs in the second round, and they both won 60 games. 60-plus games.
Yeah, that should be a conference finals matchup, not a second round matchup.
Right. So when you're putting all this weight on winning divisions, then it completely changes the rankings. It doesn't it doesn't reward a team for winning. When you're winning 95 games, but you're second in your division, and then you end up in a wild card game fighting for your life. That's just not right. I mean,
it's kind of like AFC West this past year.
Yeah.
Chargers were 12-4, and they had to play in the wild card weekend.
Exactly.
And the Chiefs got that first round bye, and they ended up. It's just sucks sometimes.
Yeah. That was just a rant.
Yeah. I mean, you have a good point. You have a good point. I mean, you bring up a good point there. But obviously, when Yankees, Red Sox, the rivalry is going, baseball's better. I think we talked about the Astros for a minute. Obviously, the star in Houston's Jose Altuve. They brought in a guy from the Indians. I forget his name, but that should upgrade their offense.
Right.
They have, obviously, George Springer, Carlos Correa, the guys they had last year, that core they had last year.
All the same guys, pretty much.
They're going to lose Keuchel, but they have some young, good pitching prospects, I believe. They're just and they
Yeah,
they play in a division where it's advantageous, where they probably most likely going to win their division and get that first round bye. They're not going to be stuck in that wild card game.
and keep in mind this: the Astros, they were number one in ERA, like overall
Yeah,
in MLB, and then they were number one in ERA in AAA. So they
yeah.
have prospects
Yeah.
coming up. So that's a really good sign.
Play an easier division. Anyone else? Some dark horse teams in the AL. I'm just thinking. The Rays showed promise. Tampa Bay Rays showed
Mhm.
promise
The Indians.
last year. The Indians, obviously, they got some guys who can rake. Jose Ramirez,
Mhm.
their third baseman.
Francisco Lindor.
I'm trying to think of the other names. They lost Brantley, obviously, who went to Houston, but they got some guys, man. They can hit homers, and they have the ace that they need, Corey Kluber.
Yeah.
Who's I think looking for an extension, but I don't know if he's going to get it. But he's in. Their pitching staff is in good shape, so they should be in a good position. And their division's not good at all.
Mhm.
It's like the White Sox. I don't even know the Twins.
Mhm.
They're in the AL Central, so their division's not good at all.
Yeah.
So they're in an advantageous position there. But obviously, the main guy, the big
main
guns
players in this is just Red Sox, Yankees,
and
and the Astros, and then you
Yeah.
got in the NL the Dodgers and
the
we
Dodgers.
didn't
and
mention the
Brewers.
Braves.
Dodgers and the Brewers. The Braves,
Mhm.
man, they got Ronald Acuna Jr. He's very young. He's going to be good for a long time. They're
Yeah.
up and coming. That division, I think it's the NL
East.
Yeah, really good. The Phillies, the Braves.
That's like the Western Conference in basketball, basically.
Uh-huh.
Just a slugfest.
Yeah. Teams will be beating up on each other there. But with that, anything else you want to mention? I think we're at hour 12. So if you want to do a little NBA, unless there's something else. you
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
mention.
Let's talk some NBA, man.
Okay.
That's my expertise,
Yeah.
as you know. The Thunder beat the Blazers last night. That was
saw
huge. That was
Lillard
huge.
had 51.
Westbrook at 37 too.
Yeah.
And I went on YouTube last night. I was looking at the comments or the highlights of that game, and everybody was talking like Lillard gave Westbrook that work. If Nurkic hadn't have gotten ejected, then they would have won, and yada yada. No matter what, until the Thunder do something, Westbrook's still gonna have that narrative that he's not a winner. You know? I think some people may not agree with me, but this year's Thunder team I think is different. Jeremy Grant is shooting the ball better now, which is huge. That's so underrated. When you look at that starting lineup, Westbrook, George, Ferguson, Jeremy Grant, and then Steven Adams, you got 5 elite to good defenders, you know.
Yeah.
That team defensively, if they lock in the playoffs, that's beat down. If they lock in the playoffs, I mean, they can beat anybody in the league. When you defend, then you can beat any team at any game. They just have to score enough.
I agree with you. I want to talk about Houston. They're beating down Philly right now, to put it nicely.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're playing, I think, without Embiid, but
Still.
still. they're sitting in the 4 seed at 39-25. Make that 40-25 here in a minute. And they're sitting a half game back of the Thunder for the 3 seed. So actually, right as about 40 seconds, they're probably going to overtake the 3 seed for the moment.
Yeah,
which is amazing considering where they were.
Yeah, at the start of the year, and the Thunder played the Clippers tonight.
25 games into the year, and that Thunder Clippers game is also critical because the Clippers are sitting in the 8 seed tied with San Antonio, and if they beat the Thunder and Houston wins, the Clippers will overtake San Antonio for that 7 and 8 seed, which kind of flip flops every single day, and the Thunder will drop below the Rockets. So it's just the Western Conference, man, it's a bloodbath.
But if I'm the Thunder, though, I want to play Portland. Obviously, you wouldn't want to play the Warriors in the second round, but I mean, it is what it is. You got to get out of the first round first. I mean, I think in terms of favorable matchups, I think they don't match up well with Utah, which they would play right now if the playoffs were to start right now.
Yeah.
We saw that last year. So obviously if they beat Utah, you play either the Nuggets or the Clippers or the Spurs. So that could be favorable, but they haven't gotten out of the first round in 2-3 years.
Yeah.
4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they don't match up all that great. It's not looking all that great in terms of path to the Western Conference Finals or wherever you would say.
Yeah.
I mean,
now what do you think about Denver?
Here's my thing with Denver. I think they can score the ball really, really well, but other teams are just going to put Jokic in the pick and roll, and they're just going to
abuse that.
Oh, man, they're going to murder Jokic in the pick and roll. They did that. Utah did that the other night to him. Over and over and over. They just ran Mitchell, Gobert, pick and roll. And Jokic just looked lost. Like he has improved defensively, but in terms of pick and roll defense, I mean.
And the Spurs did that too a couple nights ago. They ran Derek White and Aldridge in that pick and roll. And they were effective in doing that. But I think after this game, which is over,
Nuggets Warriors. Yeah. And the Nuggets are a game back.
1 game back.
Yeah.
Is it at Golden State or is it in Denver?
It's I don't know.
Let's see right now. It's at Golden State.
Yeah, Golden State. That's
oh goodness.
Oof.
That's
a big game. There's a lot of big games right now. Holy moly. The Thunder had the hardest schedule in the league in these last 17 games. Oh man, that's it's going to be tough to keep that 3 seed.
We talked about obviously the Lakers' chances are looking.
The Lakers are basically
at this point.
It's they already gave LeBron a minutes restriction. They've already their
pretty
fate is already they're already written down the death note.
Yeah. 30 and 35. They're 9th, 10th, 11th in the West behind Minnesota and Sacramento. And they're 6.5 games back of the 8 seed with about 17, 18 games to go. So
yeah, it's over.
Less than 1% chance to make the playoffs. If not 0.
Yeah.
And they're on a 4-game losing streak. And they're 2-8 in their last 10.
Tank for Zion. 1, 2, 3, Cancun.
I think we'll talk a little about the East.
Yeah.
And we'll sign off. So, obviously, Milwaukee. They beat Indiana last night. Toronto. 2.5 games back. Indiana, they're sitting in the 3 seed now,
Mhm.
but Philly's only a half game back. Obviously, I think I need to
They're losing
refresh
this
my
game right
page.
now.
I need to refresh my page because
They just
that outcome.
lost.
Okay, so now Philly's a full game back of Indiana. So right now, Indiana's holding on to the 3 seed amazingly.
Yeah.
Boston, they blew Golden State out of their own building the other night, but
Mhm.
then came back the next night, almost lost to Sacramento. Obviously, that was on a back to back, but
Mhm.
still, it just showed what if Boston puts all its pieces together, it just shows what
Yeah.
they can be.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think they need to play through Jason Tatum.
I agree.
They play better when Jason Tatum is the man. I think they just need to get him the ball, just feed him in the post, just get him going every game, and just play through him, and um, and then have Kyrie be your closer, if anything, because you just need to find roles. That's it. I think Gordon Hayward was supposed to be the second best player, but clearly that's Tatum, and they just need to realize that, and they just need to feed him the ball more.
I'm looking at this right now. I want you to just. I'm gonna say the current playoff matchup. I just want to get a quick couple words in your opinion on this.
Yeah.
On these matchups. So right now it's Bucks Heat. Any words or just that's
D Wade's last 4 games in the playoffs. Notice how I said 4.
Toronto and Brooklyn.
Toronto and 4.
Indiana and Detroit.
That's an interesting series. Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond might eat inside too.
Yeah.
So that is a really interesting series. I think Detroit, they've won like 5 in a row, something like that.
4 in a row.
4 in a row, right? So, and obviously Blake Griffin has played great all year. So, trying to think of. So they would have Thaddeus Young on Blake Griffin, and then they'd have Miles Turner on Andre Drummond. I think
those matchups, I think, favor Detroit.
Yeah, I think they favor Detroit as well. I think the key is Miles Turner. If he can, with his 3-point shooting, he can spread out Detroit's defense and move Andre Drummond away from the basket, and then they don't have their rim protector. And then also, I think Bogdan Bogdanovic, my bad. I forgot. I don't even.
Yeah.
I just get mixed up. He can expose Detroit's wing play. They don't have any wing play like at all.
Yeah.
Other than Luke Kennard, who's been solid. They don't have any other 3-point shooting because they got rid of Reggie Bullock. So,
and then obviously this matchup, the 4-5 right now would be Philly and Boston. And it hasn't necessarily gone well for Philly in the past years against Boston.
Man. Imagine how devastating that would be if Philly lost in the first round after all the moves they made. And to Boston, too. They need the 3 seed. They need it so bad. It was like, oh, man.
Yeah, they got to
That's
find a way
huge.
to get over
That's
Indiana.
huge. The difference between Boston and Detroit is like,
yeah,
it's not even close. But at the same time, I want that series to happen because I kind of want to see Boston and the Toronto in the Eastern Conference Finals, or Boston and Milwaukee. Wait, that wouldn't be able to happen actually. That would be in the second round.
Yeah.
Okay, so it could be a possible matchup of Boston and Toronto or Milwaukee and Toronto.
Uh-huh.
But Toronto's basically got to walk through the finals. Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah.
For sure. I'm just looking at no one really cares about the bottom of the East, but
Yeah.
Right now the Heat are sitting in the 8th seed, 4 games below 500.
Yeah. Oof.
18.5. The Magic are only a half game back, and the Hornets are also a half game back, tied for the 9th and 10th seed. And the Wizards are sitting about 3.5 games back. And then the rest is crap.
The Wizards are 3.5 games back?
Yep. Wizards
Oh.
are 3.5 games.
That's interesting.
Right.
Didn't even realize.
They're 3.5 back of Miami.
Well, they're not going to make it anyway.
But
So
they have to overtake Charlotte and Orlando first. And then the rest is crap. The Knicks, the Cavs, the Bulls, and the Hawks. The Hawks have been playing a little better.
yeah, they have. Trae Young's been killing it.
But
Yeah.
anything else you want to mention?
I just really want a good finals matchup for once. I really do not want to see another sweep in the finals, but it seems inevitable at this point. I mean, if you could think of a Toronto and Golden State matchup, I mean, they match up okay. You got Lowry on Curry, Danny Green on Klay Thompson, or you could put Green on Curry and then put Lowry on Klay Thompson and then have Leonard on Durant. And then from there, you got Gasol on Boogie and then Siakam on Green. So that's they match up pretty well, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Kawhi and Durant offset. The key is Lowry.
Yeah.
The key is always going to be Lowry.
Playoffs,
Can he play some basketball in the playoffs?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
The key is just Lowry. That's it.
He is Lowry for sure. The Raptors just clinched a playoff berth after they beat the Pelicans tonight. So that's an update. Nothing to report on the AB front, but
Let's see if we have any voicemails.
I don't think we had any. I didn't see any viewers, but maybe they were just
maybe they were just slacking. No voicemails.
no voicemails.
Dang it, y'all! I was really looking forward to that segment, but we're gonna end every podcast with voicemail. So make sure you send them in. You'll be on the next podcast because it's not like there's a long waiting list or anything. So, so you'll definitely be on if you send one. So might as well do it, right?
Yeah. But that's gonna do it for this episode 22. To recap, we talked college basketball predictions,
a little bit of MLB,
NFL free agency, which starts next week, and some NBA. I want to talk to you about next week because next Friday will be the start of spring break, right?
Right.
I am going to be in Hawaii.
Ooh.
So if we're going to do a podcast, Hawaii is like 4 or 5 hours earlier than here. So we have to coordinate that if we want to do it. School actually gets out Thursday. Mm-hmm. So next Thursday is our last day of school. But I'm not going to school on Thursday. I leave Thursday morning and I come back the next Thursday. That next Thursday is actually when the NCAA tournament starts.
Okay.
That's the first weekend of the tournament. So if we were going to do a bracket episode like we really want to, we'd have to either on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, I'd have to FaceTime you from Hawaii, and we have to do that on FaceTime.
Okay.
So we have to figure that out, but we're going to find a way to do it. Don't worry.
That's going to do it, y'all. Episode 22. We out. Peace.
How long was it? 129. 120.